This video is going to show you how to do the exploded view of the chocolate box that is drawn. An exploded view, as you can see from the example, is all of the components of an object taken apart and shown how they get put together, but they're all in constraints and proportions with each other. Before we can start drawing the exploded view of the chocolate box, we need to draw some guidelines to help us get it in the right place. So first thing we need to do is from the bottom of the box, we are going to measure 1 centimetre up and do a little dash. We're then going to do the same slightly further along with a longer ruler. We're going to match these up and we're going to draw a very faint guideline going all the way across the bottom. We then need to draw a vertical line at the halfway point. So this is 23 centimetres in length, so that's going to make it 11.5 is the halfway point. Put our markers on the page, match those up, and again draw a very faint guideline going down. This line here that we've drawn is going to be the base of this line here. So this is where we're going to part this point. So in order to get our angles correct, we're going to use our set square. Now remember, it needs to be parallel with the page. So what we're going to do, in order to get this angle correct, we're actually going to have the set square this way. So we've got the 90-degree angle on our left. This can get placed at the very bottom of the page. I'm going to place my pencil in the point where the two lines that I've just drawn as guidelines meet. Put the set square up against it, get it level with the bottom of the page, and then draw a very faint guideline going across to the left. I'm then going to flip the set square over, and I'm going to do the same pencil on the point, get the set square level with the base, and draw a faint guideline to the right. Remember, you use the set square to create guidelines. You don't use it to measure with. Even though it has got the measurements on the object, we use it to measure with. So what we're now going to do is we're actually going to measure on this line here 4 centimetres, and you're going to draw that in nice and hard with your pencil. The other side is going to be, the length of total is 8 centimetres. So we're going to draw 8 centimetres going up, nice and accurately, pressing slightly harder with your pencil. We now need to do the vertical from this point. As you can see, the vertical that goes up. This is going to be 1.5 centimetres in total. So carefully match it up with your guideline and draw 1.5 centimetres. Now to get the points here and here nice and vertical, we can draw a guideline. So if we look at our ruler and see how far that point is from this point, it's 3.5 centimetres. So I'm going to slightly take my ruler up, mark 3.5 centimetres, and then draw a very faint guideline going all the way down that touches that line I've already drawn. Then going to repeat the same thing for the other side. So this is 7 centimetres. So I'm going to draw a faint guideline at the top, match that up with the side I've just drawn, and draw a faint guideline going down. So now I've got my verticals to help me. So I now need to draw 1.5 centimetres going up on this one. This one I can press nice and hard with my pencil. Same on the other side, 1.5 centimetres. And then I can match these up. Because I've already got these lines coming from the diagonal that's already at 30 degrees, I don't need to use a set square. I can match these lines up perfectly and draw them together. Do make sure your lines are perfectly neat. You can see I've slightly gone past the edge on the corner here, so that needs to be rubbed out and neatened up. It's all about accuracy and the neatness of your line work, remember. So make sure you do that nice and perfectly. We're now going to complete this shape. So again, we're going to grab our set square, and I'm going to place my ruler, my pencil on this point. I'm going to match the set square with the black line now. Draw a faint guideline going up. Flip the set square over. Pencil on the top right. Again, I'm going to match this with the base. I only need a very slight, excuse me, line to act as the guideline, because then I can use my ruler to finish this off, so I can then continue this slightly until it crosses the other one, and that then completes that part of the shape. So I can now press that down harder with my pencil to create the actual shape. Now we're doing the base of the box, which is obviously going to be a separate tray, so I need to draw the inside of the box now to get that right. What I'm going to do is to double check the positioning of this. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to measure this from the middle line. So this is 3.5 centimeters to the right, so I'm going to draw a faint guideline matching these points together. Bring it down ever so slightly. And then I can now draw in my 1.5 centimeter line. And then match this with the corner, but only draw the line on the inside. And that then will create the shape of the inside of the tray. So that's the first part drawn. We then need to draw in the next part, and this is actually going to be the dividers that divide up the object. In order to get these perfect, we're just going to repeat exactly what we've done up above, all as guidelines to give us the right positioning. So we're actually going to take a measurement from this line here, and we're going to come up 1.5 centimeters and do a little dash. I'm going to do the same from this point here, 1.5 centimeters. Now that's going to give me the positioning of my set square. So where this is obviously isometric, I need to make sure that they're not directly too far above, as I'm not going to fit them all on. So you can see I'm just leaving enough gap to create the box above. Now obviously where we're slightly higher, I haven't got a baseline to be able to match my set squares with, so you're going to have to take your time and get your eye level correct. So what I'm now going to do is come up 1.5 centimeters. So we're just repeating what we've already done, slightly above, but this time everything's drawn really faint because this is all just guidelines at the moment. It's not part of the dividers. This is just to help us get the positioning of it right. Always place your pencil on the point and pivot the set square until it's nice and accurate. Now you can see this needs to match up with that line, so that's slightly out on there. If you need to double check, I always place my ruler on the one I've already drawn, bring it up, and you can see there we go. Now it's crossed perfectly on the line. So that is the inside tray. Now to create the dividers, I'm going to draw the inside bit as well. Again, this is all very lightly because these are just to be used as guidelines. Now when you look at the dividers, they're splitting it into 4 nice and accurate. So we've got halfway of the length and halfway of the depth. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure across this line here, and this was 8. I'm going to do a marker on the 4. Same on this side, I'm going to do a marker on the 4, and then I'm going to match these up and draw a line going across. I'm then going to do the same going across the other side. So this was 4 centimeters, so we need to go for the 2 and the 2. Match those together and draw a line going across, and that's in the midsection. Now obviously the dividers have got depth to them, and that's going to be the height of the shape. So what I can do now is I can see where that's going to meet that point. So using my set square, place my ruler at that point, get it nice and level, and draw a faint guideline going across. Same with this one. I can see here where that's going to meet, and then I'm going to draw a faint guideline again. This time I have got an edge that I can keep this nice and level with, and then draw a guideline going across. This guideline needs to go all the way to the end, because remember we're just doing the tabs. So we can now draw these in with our pencil much harder. Do pay attention to which lines are needed to create the dividers. So obviously we're not going to need to draw this part because the dividers have crossed with each other, so we're going to have a line in the middle and then our lines either side, and that's then the dividers for the inside. And you can see these match up perfectly. So if I take my ruler, this part of the divider matches up perfectly with the halfway point of the shape and so forth. So that's nice and in proportion and in level with the shape below. The next part that we need to do is now the lid. Now obviously the lid has got a window and the lid is not the same length, same height as the base. We can see here the lid doesn't come all the way down to the bottom, so we need to keep that in mind. So to draw the lid, we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to start by drawing our rectangle, and we came 1.5 centimeters up from this point. So we're going to do the same, 1.5 centimeters up, do a dot, 1.5 centimeters up from this point which created the original rectangle that we used. If we grab our set square, we can use the vertical lines that we've already drawn. Those points should match up and we can draw a nice faint guideline. Same thing, we can then match this point up and draw our guideline going this way. Now the height of the lid is going to be 1 centimeter instead. So we've already got the vertical guidelines there for us. So we can draw our 1 centimeter from these points and match those up, and that creates the left hand edge of the lid. We can now do the same for this side. This needs to continue to the edge of the guideline. Come up 1 centimeter. Remember the lid is shorter than the base, so we don't want it 1.5. We need it 1 centimeter to get the proportions correct. And then we can do the top again by using our set square. We use the nice vertical guideline we've already drawn to get the angles correct. Draw the line going up, flip the set square over. Again, we can match this up with the line we've drawn, and that then gives us the top part of our lid. And then we've got the window that we need to draw in. Now with the window, we're going to come in 0.5 centimeter. So what you're going to do is you're going to measure 0.5 centimeter in from each side and do a marker. And then we can match these together and draw a very faint guideline going across. Do the same on the lengths, on the long sides. So 0.5 centimeter in, do a dash, 0.5 centimeter, match those up with the ruler, faint guideline, and that gives us our window. So now we can use our pencil, pressing harder and drawing in the shape of the window. Now where we've got a window, that means we're going to be able to see through to the parts underneath. So we will see the inside of this further edge here and the edge at the back. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our set square. We're going to match the set square up with this, match it up with our vertical guideline, and that will give us the line which we're only going to draw up to this vertical. Do the same on the opposite side. Match it with the pencil in the corner. Level off the set square with our diagonal up to our vertical. Draw the little guideline in, and now you can see that has got the inside edge of our shape. Now where that is a window, we can make it look like a window by just adding couple little dashes to show the shininess of the window. That will happen. And that is your exploded view completed. If you find that your pencil lines aren't standing out as much, you can go over with a coloured pencil. But hopefully you've managed to use your vertical guidelines of the isometric rectangle to keep everything in proportion.